Good morning. Good morning. Oh my God. Sounds so echoing in here. Welcome to Althea, everyone. My name is Rick Kitzman, and this is a special service today. We are celebrating Memorial Day, and it's a lovely rainy day. Can't beat the rain. I read where we had more rain last month in Seattle. That's a lot of rain for Denver. How many first-timers to Althea? 1, 2, 3. Thank you so much. Do we have, let's see, we usually, oh here, I'll
Oh, here, you want me to help?
Sure. So we like to give our first-timers here fleur. Don't you? You've been here before?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, that's right. You live here. So anybody else? All right. We'd like to give our first-timers a carnation just so that we can spot you out. And please don't hesitate to talk to me or one of our staff here. At least get your name on the, so you get the newsletter. Give us your email address if you're comfortable with that. So that's really the best way to keep in touch with all the wonderful things that happen here. All right. So we'll go through announcements first. I always like to remind people to turn off their phones, and I'm sure you all know that tomorrow is, in addition to being Memorial Day, it's also Mint Julep Day. So if your phone goes off, you will be supplying all of us next Sunday with a minty frosty drink. So I remembered to turn mine off. So a few announcements. We'll start with announcements, and then we'll do an opening prayer. And then we'll get into some music with our wonderful guests and then the service. So we have a weekly group, which is called Althea Center's Community Connections, and that meets every Thursday at 11 o'clock, and that currently is Zoom. It's led by Kathy Humphreys, and she does a great job. She has a topic, and it's a way to keep connected with your community and with what's going on in the world. Healing Meditation 3, Relationships with Suzanne Hunt, begins on Saturday, June 12th. Is Suzanne here today? So discover yourself in the spiritual nature of your relationships and agreements. Mariposa, which is our LGBTQ group, is having on June 2nd, will be an in-person program entitled Gender Identity, One Trans Woman's Perspective with Arika King, our very own Arika King right here in the front. And if you have questions about Mariposa, you can ask Tim. He is the group leader and creator. Starts at 6 o'clock for social gathering, and then the meeting starts at 6:30 and goes till 8. The Enneagram, Transformational Power of the Enneagram, Connecting You with Your Higher Self with Julia Foster, gets going Tuesdays, June 8th for 3 weeks. That's 7 to 9, and it's also a Zoom class. And then let me ask you this question, last announcement here, is what is Althea going to look like next week, or in 2 weeks, or in 2 months, or in a year? And if you would like to help with that decision, we are starting our first team through this transition, which is called the Visioning Team. And it will be led by Reverend Arika King, as well as Reverend Mary Jo Honiotis. And it will be a visioning for utilizing spiritual principles to envision what you, the community, would like to see happen with Althea. We did a survey. We're going to be having a town hall, so look in the newsletter for when the town hall is, about going through the results. And this is a good way to use spiritual principles to create the greatest and the best Althea. So that is going to be next Sunday at 12:30 is when it will meet first. And don't worry if you can't make that meeting, because I don't know, we haven't decided if it's going to be Zoom or in person, but you'll be able to certainly pick up at any time. And it's open to anybody. Open to anybody. Yes. Oh, okay, 12:15. In the newsletter? Okay. Oh, that day will be in person. I'm sorry. We usually meet in the library, so I think that's. Well, it might be too small, and so we can actually spread chairs around, etc. So yeah. Okay. Is that clear? Okay. All right. Great. So we hope to see everybody there and more. We also have some volunteer opportunities through our community outreach. Please see SARMA. If you've got some time or an extra hour to take somebody to a doctor's appointment, please don't hesitate to let us know if you're available or that you need those services. And then we also need volunteers to, say, help with the coffee after service. So yes, there is coffee and tea after service. And chocolates? You know, nobody likes chocolate, so... volunteers just around the sanctuary or around the building. So if you feel like you would like to dedicate a couple hours of service, again, see Sarma. All right. We are going to move into... Normally, it would be a opening prayer, but I've got something a little different I want to... However, we and I would also like to continue today's service with reading Althea's Statement of Being. For those of you who are new, this was founded by four women, essentially: Melinda Kramer, Nona Brooks, Fanny Brooks, James, Althea, not Althea, but Althea Brooks Small. And the Brooks were, oh my God. W.C. Fields said never work with animals or kids. This is why. They will upstage you every time. Oh my God. All right. The three Brooks sisters, and Melinda Kramer was in San Francisco, and Kate Bingham also played a decisive role. So their history was First Divine Science was the name of the philosophy that they created of this New Thought religion or service. And they started in San Francisco in Pueblo, and this is the first Divine Science of Church. So it's quite a sanctuary. That was built in 1922. Yes, 1922. All right, so if you don't know it, you can just read my lips, or if you do know it, follow along with me. God is all, both visible and invisible. One presence, one mind, one power is all. This one that is all is perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. We are individualized expressions of God and are ever one with this perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. So, for those of you who, need to be reminded, tomorrow is Memorial Day. And I would like, instead of reading or going through an opening prayer, is to read a portion of a letter from Sullivan Baloo. And Sullivan Baloo was a successful 32-year-old attorney from Rhode Island, And when Abraham Lincoln called for volunteers in the wake of Fort Sumter, responding to his nation's call, the former Speaker of the House of Representatives, Sullivan Baloo, joined up, and he was elected a major. There was a movement of federal forces moving into Manassas, Virginia. And he was married with 2 boys, and he decided to intuitively write a letter to his wife. You've probably heard portions of this, or maybe the whole thing, from Ken Burns' Civil War. And so if you'd like to just close your eyes and just envision this man writing a letter. Headquarters, Camp Clark, Washington, D.C., July 14th, 1861. My very dear wife, indications are very strong that we shall move in a few days, perhaps tomorrow. Lest I should not be able to write you again, I feel impelled to write a few lines that may fall under your eye when I shall be no more. I know how strongly American civilization now leans upon the triumph of government, and how great a debt we owe to those who went before us through the blood and suffering of the Revolution. And I am willing, perfectly willing, to lay down all my joys in this life to help maintain this government and to pay that debt. I cannot describe to you my feelings on this calm summer night when 2,000 men are sleeping around me, many of them enjoying the last, perhaps, before that of death, and I, suspicious that death is creeping behind me with his fatal dart, am communing with God, my country, and thee. Sarah, my love for you is deathless. It seems to bind me with mighty cables that nothing but omnipotence can break. And yet, my love of country comes over me. Like a strong wind, and bears me irresistibly on with all those chains to the battlefield. The memories of all the blissful moments I've spent with you come crowding over me, and I feel most deeply grateful to God and you that I have enjoyed them so long. Never forget how much I love you, nor that when my last breath escapes me on the battlefield, it will whisper your name. But oh, Sarah, if the dead can come back to this earth and flit unseen around those they loved, I shall always be near you in the garish day, and the darkest night amidst your happiest scenes and gloomiest hours, always, always. And if the soft breeze fans your cheek, it shall be my breath, or the cool air cools your throbbing temples, it shall be my spirit passing by. Sarah, do not mourn me. Think I am gone, and wait for me, for we shall meet again. Sullivan. 1 week later, on the plains of Manassas, Sullivan Baloo was killed as the Rhode Islanders advanced from Matthews Hill.
This good? Yep. All right. So I'm going to read a little something by Hafiz. He's one of our favorites here. And this was just, I just loved it. About loss. Don't surrender your loneliness so quickly. Let it cut more deep. Let it ferment and season you as few human or divine ingredients can. Something missing in my heart tonight has made my eyes so soft, my voice so tender, my need of God absolutely clear.
Okay. Well, we'll see if I can get through this part of it. Thank you, Catherine. That was beautiful. All right, so Memorial Day, for many Americans, we think of picnics and watermelon and parades. And it's really, most importantly, a time to honor those who gave their time in service by giving their lives in the U.S. Armed Forces. And this started as, was originally known as Decoration Day. And following the Civil War, when mourners placed flowers on the graves of Union and Confederate soldiers. And that was first in 1865, when the Civil War ended. Over 620,000 soldiers died in the 4-year conflict. 620,000. It was a terrible tragedy for this country, and we can probably look around and see where on many levels we're still fighting those battles, unfortunately. So, starting in 1868, General John Logan of the Grand Army organized the celebration, for the first celebration, on May 30th of 1868. And in lieu of, the reason it was in May was so that all states in the Union would have flowers growing by that time. And so state by state started honoring that day. And then eventually in 68, Congress passed the Uniform Monday Holiday Act and made it the last Monday in May. And that change took place in 71. So that is a little bit of the history of, Memorial Day. And we are, if you don't know, we are going to be also doing a burning bowl ceremony, which is a way to release loss. And we'll get to that later. So just a few things about grief. And it's a very odd feeling. We all feel it someday. We have felt it. We will feel it again. And we can each of us only speak from our own personal experience. It's such a personal and emotional event, experience, and totally designed to deliver a vision custom made for your eyes only. And so I like to say that if you are ever conversing with someone about the grief that you're going through, it was a blast. It was just a riot. It was so much fun. And then there's a little disease, little virus that popped up called AIDS, the HIV virus. And this was in 1981. And so I was, carry the one, carry the two, I think I was 28. I was 28. Yes, 28. And I can still remember reading in the New York Times the first mention of this unique gay cancer. And it was buried in the middle of the first section of the Times. And I, of course, in my circles of friends, we'd heard about it months before its initial print. And I also knew a group of people who were involved with, I don't know if you're familiar with Larry Kramer's ACT UP, but they were actually going to Washington, D.C. to meet with the CDC about this cancer. And they were doctors and social workers. And I knew them. I knew two of them. And in the summer of 81, I'll never forget, we were sitting on the roof of their Brooklyn apartment building. It was the first time I'd eaten kiwi, so that was memorable. But we were talking about this disease that was affecting our community. And it was worrisome, to say the least. And that was when there were only a couple hundred. And now throughout the world, there's 41 million, something like that. I mean, in the tens of millions. And so I obviously lost a few friends during that time period and into the 90s before the drug regimen changed. And I can tell you that I calculated with all the friends that I had died because of this disease, and I'm referencing about 10, that I had lost 150 years of accumulated friendship. So some of these, in fact, one was from when I was in junior high, at VCon Junior High in Brighton, Colorado. And, putting it in that perspective just gave me a different view on grief. I, to a certain degree, was overwhelmed. I came back to Colorado. My parents were here. I'm a Colorado native. And I moved back in with them and didn't die. I started living. So I got a career in human resources, etc. But that grief settled in the early 2000s. And I had no idea what was going on. I just knew that there was this black cloud that was hanging over me or following me. Because I had, dealt with it in the early 90s. And so it was the first time I decided to see a therapist. And, I was raised by Russian German Lutherans who went through the Depression, and by golly, you're supposed to do it yourself, and you shouldn't ask for help, etc. And I was just like, I give up, I need help. And I lucked out with the very first therapist. And through about 10 months, we discovered it was grief all over again. It was grief. And so we're talking like 15 to 20 years after my friends, had died. And once you recognize a problem, it tends to lose its power. One of my favorite quotes from, I think I got it even in high school, is from Emerson: "Do what you fear to do, and the death of fear is certain." And that is so true. And so when I was afraid of again experiencing grief, but once I went through it, it was just such a relief, such a relief. So every one of us here will have our own unique experience to share about grief. And, is there anything else? No. But I do have one more reading before we get to the burning bowl. And when we had a book sale here about 3 years ago, I got for $3 Mysteries by Nona L. Brooks, who is one of the founders. Do you have this one? It's pretty cool. And she writes about all these different mysteries. And when I picked it up, I'm not kidding, 2 nights ago, I went, oh, maybe Nona has something about death. I flipped it open, and no kidding, it went to the chapter called The Mystery of Death. Not kidding. So just again, a brief reading from what she says. One of our metaphysical founders. There are so many questions. I need quadrifocals. There are so many questions connected with a discussion of this subject of death that it is difficult to find the most pertinent. I think, however, that one engrossing question in the thoughts of those who doubt and of those who believe is, where do those who have passed through the experience known as death go? They seem to drop the body, hence the world belief has wrapped the departed, as they are called, in a veil of mystery. Can they function without the tangible body which has seemed to identify them as individuals here? Think of the little we have learned of the infinite universe of form around us. The laws of the solar system are no more difficult to understand than are the laws of the tiniest flower that grows. Can we not see that the infinite intelligence which is ever creating the universe of form is equipped to take care of the individual? Are we trusting it? Life is continually enlarging for us as we live it with understanding. See life, not death. Think of the joys of eternal progress, and you will rejoice in every process. There is life, life, life! Exclamation point. There is no death, hence there can be no mystery. Well, there you have it. There's no mystery. End of story. Thank you, Ms. Brooks. And so that's what our burning bowl ceremony is for today. You all received, or at least were offered, some paper to come through and write a name on either someone or something that you have lost in this past year, or it could have been 5 years ago. It could be like me, friends from 20 years ago. And in this extraordinary year of loss, you know, it doesn't have to be someone who passed away. It could be loss of a job. It could be loss of income, loss of time, loss of a pet. There are so many things that we can lose in this experience. But there is so much light to be gained from those experiences. And so the burning bowl ceremony, and there are lots of variations, but the indigenous tribes of this country used this ceremony because it was a way to let the ash and the smoke from what you were burning release it into the Great Spirit. We will be simplifying our burning bowl process here. So we'll have some beautiful music in the during the ceremony. Those of you who have written down someone will start lining up here. We have 2 stations, 2 burning bowls, and we'll have 2 assistants there. And you will simply be given a tongs to hold the paper with, and then hold it over the flame. And wait until it all burns. And then you're done. Not really, but with the physical stuff, you're done. It's the other stuff. When you come up, it's good to have an intention or a purpose or something specific or in general. I mean, it's totally up to you of what it is you hope to gain by releasing this person, this relative, this lover, this friend, this aunt, this uncle, this child, this pet, or this career, or the last year of time, or whatever it is. What do you hope to gain? Because as we give away, it is the law that so it returns. That's the law of circulation. What would you like to return? Peace of mind, a new relationship, a new pet, a new career, whatever. So that is the process. And then we'll wrap it up with a couple more speakers who have some beautiful words of wisdom. Any questions? All right. Assistants. This is Lori Lucero and Nancy Driver, and they are practitioners. We also have a practitioner in-house if any of you feel like you are in need of affirmative prayer, and they will be available after the service as well. Okay? All right. If you are ready, if you didn't write anything down and you need a pencil, let me know or one of our assistants know, and we'll get you that. So you can start lining up. One here. And so as we hold on to this sacred energy, and we think about what it is that we have released and what we hope to gain. The title of this talk today was The Light of Loss. And sometimes I know in the depths of my sadness, I often wondered, would I ever see light again? But it's always there. This is Mimi Bergen, and she'll talk about that.
So today, can you hear me? Today we built a communal altar to honor and bless our losses the last 14 months of the pandemic. And each one, as Rick has said, have been very unique and individual among our losses. And through the burning bowl ceremony, which Rick has gifted to us, and with the love and faith of prayer partners who helped us with the ceremony, we've released that which casts a shadow along the path, which is calling us forward, calling us to heal ourselves and to heal the world. In Judaism, there is a phrase, tikkun olam, which means repairing the world. And so that is what I feel like we're being called to repair the world. And when Rick invited me to help close this ceremony, I thought back to the early months of the pandemic when darkness descended upon us. And I remember even then thinking about and feeling the light that was there within the darkness, the potential, that it held so much potential, though I knew there was going to be so much pain and suffering. I remember that I felt there were gifts and opportunities cloaked beneath the darkness that descended upon us. And it was the light of awareness, the wake-up call, a clarion call, that we are all in this together. This pandemic affected everyone on our globe and is still affecting us. All of us who inhabit Earth, and that we must come together to heal the world, to heal the heart, if we want our children and our grandchildren and future generations to even be here to live on the earth. It was a warning. I saw it as a warning that you better get your shit together because there's tough times ahead with the climate crisis, for one. And then during the pandemic, it wasn't only the pandemic. The light was shown on the underbelly of our culture, of our society. The political scene, the division, the murders, the racism, and awareness of our white privilege. All of this has just happened within such a short time. And so for me, when I think about the losses that we've suffered, it's the awareness that is the light for us to do something different, to heal it, so that we will not go back to normal, but create a better world for ourselves. So we've honored our losses that Rick talked about, all the different ones, and I want to honor the lives of the loved ones who are grieving, those who have died, who have served in the military, and those who have died in the pandemic. And not only in the pandemic or from COVID, but died during the year of the pandemic. Because what the families went through when they were not able to give them proper funerals, and we had to do Zoom funerals, or we had to postpone them. And they were not able, in many countries, were not able to be there to bury their dead. And so I hold them in my heart, and I bless them in their grief. And I also want to honor those who were stricken with COVID and are still with us because they have recovered, but they are referred to as the long haulers, and we don't know how long it will be that they will live with these illnesses and disability in their life. So may they know healing and attain full recovery. So it's been a challenging, tough year for all of us. And so I share now these words of blessing from John O'Donohue for all of us here and for all of us on this globe, in this world that we share. On the day when the weight deadens on your shoulders and you stumble, may the clay dance to balance you. And when your eyes freeze behind the gray window and the ghost of loss gets into you, may a flock of colors, indigo, red, green, and azure blue, come to awaken in you a meadow of delight. And when the canvas frays in the currach of thought and a stain of ocean blackens beneath you, may there come across the waters a path of yellow moonlight, light, to bring you safely home. May the nourishment of the earth be yours. May the clarity of light be yours. May the fluency of the ocean be yours. May the protection of the ancestors be yours. And so, may a slow wind work these words of love around you, an invisible cloak to mind your life. Thank you.
Thank you, Mimi. And thank you to all of you who blessed us with your presence here today. I hope you find release, whatever you wanted to release today. Just a few more announcements before we have a closing prayer. Well, not new announcements, but just reminders. Don't forget, we have coffee and tea, and I don't know, I think there's still some chocolate back there. Who knows? But you might find some there. So please join us for a social gathering. Anything else? Would you like to talk about upcoming services?
Sure can.
Oh, yes. We have our prayer practitioner, Suzanne Thomas, and if you want to go through this door around the corner, we have a prayer room just built for you.
Right. Good morning, everyone. I'm Ginny Castleberry, and I am on the team that is pulling together these Sundays, especially after the pandemic. I say after, I guess we're still kind of in it. As things open up, right, we hope to see more and more faces here. And so this is a holiday weekend. We're in the summer. So for those of you who are new, know that we are normally quite a few more than this. And during normal times, we're many more than this. And we hope to get back to that place soon. So we're doing all sorts of different things for Sundays. Next Sunday is the Soul of Music. So one of our beloved folks, Doug Fisichella, who has a long background in music, will have a band together with Daryl. Where's my Daryl? Hey, there we go. He was one of our Beach Boys singers last week, if you were here. It was awesome. I'm still feeling those good vibrations. So we're going to talk about how music feeds your soul and what the spiritual side of that is, and lots of great music. After that, we will be celebrating Juneteenth. It actually takes place the day before, but we're going to have a woman named Jo Bunton Keel, who has been in the Denver community for decades. She is a dancer, a musician, a poet, a teacher. If you know Cleo Parker Robinson, the dance studio that's also been a part of Denver for decades, she was a dancer there. She's fantastic, and she's going to share with us her journey as a black woman in this culture and talk very much about Black Lives Matter and having dignity around people of color. So please come join us for that ceremony for Juneteenth. Then we move into Pride, and we move into Father's Day, and we move into many, many other Sundays to come with great music and great stories and messages and ceremonies like this. So invite your friends and neighbors and keep coming back. Thank you. Rick?
Thank you, thank you. And I would like to give Ginny and her team a big round of applause for the job that they are all doing. There's just no place like Althea or home. So let's see, I think we'll have a closing prayer. Normally at some point, we usually pass the plate for your hard-earned dollars and shekels and yen. And we're making it a little easier. We have a new device called Dip Jar, which is in the back. And so please share what you can from your heart. It's very easy. You just pull out your credit card, dip, dip, dip. And you can add as many zeros to the left of the decimal after a number as you want. And this is Nancy Driver, who will do our closing prayer, and then we'll have another round of fabulous music.
I invite you to close your eyes. And let's just breathe in the breath of life, the breath of love, that divine essence that just fills our hearts and heals our hearts. And with that divine energy, with the spirit of life itself, we just bring in the beautiful sunshine, that sun, that light that fills every cell in our body and helps us feel connected to those that we have lost, to those who have gone before us. And that sun, yes, it just warms our being and fills us with joy and fills us with connection and lets us know of the oneness of life itself. We are never separated, for our loved ones are with us in our heart, in our soul, in our being at all times. And yes, just imagine the beautiful rain that is coming down outside, and as it kisses our cheeks, yes, that is the love of each one of those we have lost before. That is the kisses of love, the kisses of connection. And just imagine in this beautiful time of spring how the flowers, they open and blossom. And that beauty is the beauty we have shared with those who have gone before. They are with us. They do not leave us. Their hearts connect to our hearts right now and forever. And at nighttime, when we see the magnificent stars just twinkling at us, that is them reminding us that they are with us. They never, never leave. And so we know that that love stays with us. That love is us. That love never separates. And with that incredible connection to the divine, that incredible connection to those that we may grieve, they are with us right here, right now. And we thank you, Spirit, that we may never, ever be apart. And we let this go on the wings of the hawk as she circles, as she flies, and as she soars above the clouds towards that magnificent sun. And so it is. Amen.
So we'll close with a trio of 3 pieces that I've written, and you may have seen video of us playing in the concert, virtual concert that Daryl had put together. The first piece is called Remembrance, and I dedicated it to my grandfather. And then on January 29th of 2020, my grandmother passed, and she was 98 and a half. And it was a luminous passing. I was able to be with her. And I was very grateful that she passed before the pandemic brought the shutdown of the home that she was in and all of that. So my thoughts and prayers go out to those who went through the difficulty of having loved ones in homes that they couldn't be with. But I played this trio of tunes at her funeral. And so the first one is Remembrance, and it's in remembrance of really all of those who have passed. And then the second one is A Time for Peace. And I originally wrote this with a different message, but for this, and at her funeral, it was really about recognizing that she's at peace now. And the third one is a waltz. And in the context of my grandparents, I like to think of them being together again and being able to waltz. So, and thank you for your patience with my young pups. They are not quite ready for prime time on the stage. But they are. I'm so glad. And